Greetings. Hello, everyone. My name is Kate Rademacher, and I'm here with Writing for Your Life. And I'm delighted and really honored to be joined by author and speaker Mark Schaefer. Mark's a longtime friend of Writing for Your Life, and we're just incredibly grateful for his time and expertise that he's sharing with us today. I'm also excited to tell you about Mark's new book, and I'll read the title and just tell you a little bit about his bio. And then we're going to ask Mark to tell us more about his book. So the title is Belonging to the Brand: Why Community is the Last Great Marketing Strategy. What a great title. Draws you right in. And just for those who don't know Mark Schaefer, he's an acclaimed marketing consultant. He's a keynote speaker, podcaster, and university educator. He's the author of 10 books, including Known, Marketing Rebellion, and Cumulative Advantage. His books are used as texts at more than 70 universities and can be found at 700 libraries. Wow, and have been translated in 15 languages. Amazing. So Mark, we're truly, thank you so much for your time today. Can you just start off by telling us a little bit about your new book and what inspired you to write it?
Yes, thanks so much, Kate. Well, this is my 10th book, so that's significant. I never have a plan to write a book. It might seem like, oh, this is a guy that really has a strategy to write books. And that's not true. I only write a book when I have a big idea or an observation, or I'm solving a problem that I'm perplexed with. It has to be something important that can really help people, because writing a book is such a big commitment. And this time, if I wrote a book a few years ago called Marketing Rebellion, and it was a wake-up call. It was about how our marketing doesn't work like it used to, that marketers just keep doing the same thing over and over again. And now that people have the accumulated knowledge of the human race in the palm of their hands, they expect something else from our companies and from our marketing. And there was a chapter in that book about belonging and community. And when I finished writing that book, I thought that is the most important chapter in the book. That is really the future of marketing. When the rest of marketing fades away, when we don't, when we can finally block out all the ads we want to block, and we can block out all the spam and all the robocalls that we have to, put up with every day, the last thing really is community. It's helping people to really feel like they belong to what you're doing, like they're involved in what you're doing. So that was one big idea that was behind this book. But there's two more. The second one is, I was haunted by this headline that I saw in the New York Times a few years ago. It said, "The loneliest generation." And it was talking about Gen Z. And this is a topic and an idea that I know a lot of people are familiar with, that we are really in the middle of a global mental health crisis, and it's hurting our children most of all, our children and our teens. 51% of kids aged, or young adults aged 18 to 24 have sought medical attention for a mental health issue. 51%. The average for every other generation is 24%. And so there's this unprecedented pressure and stress and problems going on that are affecting our world, our children. And this has been an issue that's been creeping up on us really since the 1960s. So that's number two. The third issue is that almost all the investment in new technology these days, whether it's the metaverse, NFTs, Web3, tokenized economies, they're all really creating new ways for people to belong to communities. Even something like Fortnite, it's a popular game. It's really a metaverse game where people connect and collaborate and belong. Now, so if you put these three trends together, we need a new way to market. The world needs to find a way to belong. And the Silicon Valley's given us a lot of new ways to do that. To me, this points to community as a massively overlooked opportunity in the marketing world. So This book is a wake-up call. Community isn't new, but this is the first book that really looks at community through the value of the lens of brand marketing. So I think it'll be really quite a fresh and bold look for people who are interested in business and marketing and writing.
Thank you so much, Mark. What a compelling idea to sort of connect these dots, particularly the issues of loneliness and, as you say, the mental health crises that are so prevalent. Can you just take a step back and sort of define for me, how do you think of the concept of community? Do you think of it as, typically we've for so long thought of it as geographic, right? The people that are around us in proximity. Do you think of it more as community of people who are like-minded, who have similar interests or hobbies? And, if that's the case, then my only concern about that is sort of how do we avoid being sort of insular, if we're just hanging out with our community that shares our tight interests, but maybe from a marketing perspective, that's, sort of how you're interested in thinking about it. So just a couple questions there to unpack.
Yeah, well, it can be all of those things in some respect. I think the important piece of differentiation I point to in the book is that most people look at an audience and call it a community, but there's a big difference. A community is not a group of social media followers. It's not the people who read your blog. It's not a list of customers. There are three important points to what makes a community. First of all, just like in your neighborhood community, a community, these are people who know each other. It's not a cult of personality. It's not a blog audience. These are people that know each other. There's actual communion in the community. Point number two is that they're coming together for a purpose. So you mentioned maybe they're like-minded people. Well, maybe they're coming together for a cause. Maybe they're coming together for fun. Maybe they're coming together because they love this certain kind of product. It could be maybe they love Yeti or Patagonia or Nike or Coca-Cola, and they want to gather with other people who love buying those things and collecting those things and learning about the history of these brands. So there's lots of reasons why people can come together, but this unifying purpose is important, because if you're thinking about starting a community, that's really where the first piece of the strategy has to come in. And that is, why would people want to gather with us? That's the first question you really need to answer. Then the third point about community is that it evolves. If a community isn't willing to change and evolve, it'll probably become either stagnant or obsolete over time. So number one, there's communion between the members. Number two, there's some unifying purpose. And number three, that purpose sort of shifts and evolves over time.
Right, I love that definition. And then, so, I mean, I think this is timely because, as you know, I recently had the honor and privilege of taking over leadership of Writing for Your Life from Brian Elaine, who founded the platform. And he has done such an incredible job of facilitating community. And that's part of why I got involved and have collaborated with him for many years. So one of the things that's top of my mind is sort of how do we, what's the sort of cutting edge spaces that we can gather online to facilitate community? One of the places we've often used in the past decade or 5 years has been like interest group on Facebook, for example. But my sense is that sort of that we're kind of peaking in that space. And so one of the things I'm looking at is some online websites that have sort of ability to convene and meet in sort of online rooms. So I'm just wondering, like, in your experience, what, if we're not just sort of thinking about social media or blogging to target our audience, how do you think about ways tactically to convene or engage a community? And I know you have a great engagement through your e-newsletter, for example. So maybe some of these ways we've been using, but you're kind of reimagining them. So maybe you can speak about that.
I'm not so preoccupied with cutting edge. What I'm preoccupied with is ease of use. So I think, a lot of people might think, Facebook's old fashioned, or LinkedIn or Twitter or something like that. But those platforms are also organic to a person's daily experience. So they might go to Facebook every day to see what their kids are up to, or what their parents are up to, what pictures they've posted. And you get alert. Oh, there's something new in my community today. So that community is an organic part of their experience. Now, certainly there could be value in creating a community other places, like Slack, like Discord, like Circle is a platform some people are trying out now. But that requires an extra click. You've got to train people to learn something new, and you've got to create so much insane value that they leave their daily online life to go visit you. That's not easy. So, if you're Nike or a big brand, sure, you're going to go visit, Nike.com and log into my community or whatever. But for most organizations, I think it's important just to make it really easy. Make it easy, make it part of the person's organic life.
Thanks for that. And I saw something in your materials, and correct me if I'm wrong, about convenings, both in person and or online. And so, I mean, for example, right now, you and I would say, building community by meeting on the Zoom call. So do you, as we're kind of emerging out of the pandemic, or at least in a new phase, what do you think is the role of in-person events, and or hybrid events or virtual events? Is that something you're really pushing for with your clients?
Well, what I found is that to write the book, I studied, dozens, maybe hundreds of different communities. And when it's possible, there's almost always an in real life component to it. So even like, for example, the ultimate online community is probably Twitch. Twitch is a community of gamers mostly, and they go on there and they exchange ideas and they watch each other play games. But Twitch also has a big annual convention, and they bring people together, and you can meet your friends. And that there's nothing really that can replace taking a relationship and emotional bond to the next level than meeting in real life. I have an online community. We're going to, many people in the community are going to meet for the first time this June at my house. We'll see how that goes. But, we just thought we wanted to get together and celebrate and have some fun. And I guarantee you that once you meet these people in real life for the first time, nothing in the online version will ever be the same again. It'll be more special. It'll be richer. There'll be better discussions. So, and some communities are only in real life, and that's perfectly fine too. So, I mean, there's no real prescription. The idea is that the power of the community is the emotion that comes in the community. I think one of the profound insights in the book is, I went down many deep rabbit holes about the psychology of community. And one of the big ideas is that the emotion that people create with each other in a community spills over to the sponsoring brand. It almost suggests that a company or a nonprofit or whoever's running the community, it's almost like you don't necessarily focus so much on the connection with you as enabling connections with other people. So getting other people to collaborate and connect and co-create, become friends, that creates like a layer of emotional switching costs, because now their friends are there. They might abandon you, but they're not going to abandon your friends. So I think that's an important thing to think about when you think about the strategy of community.
That's great. Well, since you're having people over your house, maybe can the whole Writing for Your Life community come to your house in June? Is that can you accommodate us? We're you
I'm doing my nails that day. I think I have a
know,
doctor's appointment that day.
looking through your book, so I got a sneak peek with the background information you sent, and it sounds like you open chapter 1 with a story from your own life, of when you had an experience that perhaps led to some loneliness, and that sort of propelled you into thinking about this. Is that something that you'd be willing to talk or able to talk a little bit more about, or share with us as sort of how that kind of launched you into thinking about this?
Well, yeah, I have a friend who said, in all of us, we have this furnace that drives us, and the furnace is fueled by a childhood hurt. I think I have a number of furnaces, but when I was a real happy little kid, and then I moved to a new school in a new community, and on my didn't know anybody, and on my first day of school, I escaped a sexual molestation attempt, and it made me into a shadow. I just spent the next 2 years sort of escaping this bully, and I couldn't tell anybody because this gigantic kid said he would kill me if I told anybody. And so I was lost. I was just literally, I was a ghost. And, very long story short, when I got to high school, things got even worse. And then I tried out for a school play. And I have no idea why I did that. I mean, it's just, I have no idea why I even had the courage to do that. But I did. And I was a freshman in high school, and I got a lead in the musical of the play for the school. And all of a sudden, I was adopted into a community. It was everybody in the school was in this play. The jocks and the cheerleaders and the nerds and everybody was in this play. And now, all of a sudden, I was sort of the alpha male of this group because I got the lead in the play. And I was accepted, and being part of this community saved me, and it just unleashed my personality, and I became a leader. I was active in student government. I was active in sports. I became a writer. And what's haunted me is, number one, what would have happened to me if I hadn't been part of that community? Because these were the formative years. I mean, I was at the end of my formative years, which is going to kind of determine where I'm going to be in my life. And the second thing that haunts me is what's happening to these millions of kids in the loneliest generation if they're not connected. Are we losing the potential, the intellectual capacity, the bright energy of a generation because they're so lonely and lost? And that's sort of my furnace. I'm not, with this book, I'm not being Pollyannish about things like, hey, everybody, start a community and save the world. What I'm saying is, this is a really good business idea. And the first part of the book lays out the business case. It's a very compelling business case. And then I say, well, look, it's really going to help your business, but this really does heal people. This really is something important you can be doing for the world. So why not? So I don't know. You kind of got me on my soapbox there, but that's what happened to me. That's what happened to me, and one of the things that I think really pushed me in the book.
I'm so sorry for what happened, and I'm glad and grateful for the community you found. And as you say, hopeful that kids today and young people today will have similar experiences of community, and glad that you're sort of having this call to action, and linking it to marketing. I think that's really powerful. Speaking of furnaces in you, I'm just so impressed with what a prolific writer you are. And as you know, sort of the main audience for this interview is our Writing for Your Life community. And that's a community of people who love to write and read. And so can you just talk a little bit about your writing practice and sort of how because what I'm really impressed in addition to your books is just the amount of um, blogs you pump out, the and very thoughtful, very helpful. So thank you for your writing and your words. But sort of how do you make time for it, and sort of what motivates you, especially in terms of sort of like the balance of making a living vis-a-vis your
Yeah.
passion for the topics, etc.
Well, I'll put it in very stark terms. I think terms that would be very relevant to every writer today. So unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard this thing called ChatGPT. ChatGPT is artificial intelligence that can write. And it does for humans and writing what the calculator did for humans and math. The calculator made everyone a competent mathematician. Not an excellent mathematician, you still, but you could do your taxes. ChatGPT can make everyone a competent, perhaps even an excellent writer. And for many people who have writing as a profession, this can be, an existential issue. Now, the only thing that will save us in this world, because, this artificial intelligence is just going to get better. We're just seeing the beginning of this. The only thing that will save us is our personal brand. Do people know you? Do they love you? Do they trust you? Do they know they can come to you for insight and the truth? And that's why I blog, because you've got to show up. You've got to show up and create an audience of people who know you and love you and trust you. And no matter what happens in this world with artificial intelligence, they're still going to see my blog. I've started putting on my blog 100% human content just to assure people, this is really me. This is the person you've come to grow and know. And, and even I know some people love me. So that's why I do it. And you've got, and everyone listening today, I would encourage you've got to show up in the world. And there's a lot of resources on my site, by the way, around personal branding. I wrote the best-selling book on personal branding called Known. I have a lot of posts about it. I've been shouting from the rooftops for about 8 years, begging people to take this seriously because I knew this day was coming. And this, as far as I know, and believe me, I've been thinking about this a lot, this is the only thing that can save us. It's the only thing, is that if you're known, you will make it. So that's why I do it. It's also because I love it. I'm a writer. I love to write. I have lots of ideas. I got to interview the legendary business author, Tom Peters, 2 weeks ago. And I talked to him 2 years ago, and Tom told me he was retiring. And here I am 2 years later, talking to him again because he has a new book out. And I said, what's going on? I thought you were retired. He said, well, I'm desperate to get my ideas out. I'm desperate for people to hear my ideas. And I think that's why I'm prolific, is because I have ideas that can help people. I have ideas that are true. And so why would I stop? As long as I have good ideas, I'll keep putting them out there.
Great. Well, I love that, and thank you for your passion and for sharing your ideas. One thing I mentioned to you before we started the interview was that we're getting a lot of questions about Substack from our authors. And I read a piece you wrote maybe a month or two ago about blogging on Medium. And I've blogged on Medium for a number of years and really like that platform. So if you'd be willing, could you just, talk about sort of the pros and cons as you see it of Medium versus Substack versus other platforms, if, for those who are still doing blogging type writing?
Well, so Medium and Substack, I guess at their core are still blogging platforms. It gives you an opportunity to monetize. Medium's model has something to do with, well, if more people are reading your content, we've got a pot of money and we'll divide it up. And I'm a prolific writer and a good writer with a big audience. I mean, I haven't really found a lot of money coming in from Medium, but I think if you concentrated, you might be able to monetize that way. Substack is different because they actually give you access to the email addresses of the people who are reading your content. So that is very powerful compared to Substack. So compared to Medium, Substack has sort of become the celebrity newsletter platform. There's a couple dangers with that. And, by the way, I'm still learning myself and I'm ready to be proven wrong about this. But the issue with monetizing anything is that you have to have an audience. If you have an audience, there are many, many ways to monetize. I actually have 24 income streams. Only maybe 4 of them are significant, but I have 24 income streams because I have an audience. And it's not about, I don't sell widgets. I don't have a restaurant. Basically, these are 24 different ways to monetize my content in some way, shape, or form. Substack, their view is, you can monetize by having a paywall and a paid subscription to your newsletter. But here's my question. How do you build that subscription and without showing people what you do? Now, some people have a free version where you just, you see the first 2 paragraphs of their post every week or something. But, my view is, I think a blog is the most powerful way to build an audience. And then once you blog, you can post it on LinkedIn, Medium, Substack, wherever. But for me, it's more important. I think there are more opportunities for monetization if you have broad awareness and a large email list versus trying to do that behind a paywall, hiding what you're doing and sort of trusting people to come into your community. So again, I'm open to debate on that, but I don't have any intention of putting my content behind a paywall. I want everybody in the world to see what I do, because if everybody in the world sees what I do, there's going to be more people out there that are going to hire me to speak, hire me to consult, come to my marketing retreat, buy my books, whatever way they want to connect with me and hire me.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And that actually, that was the question that was sort of, I think a lot of writers, I'm grateful for you talking about this, because I think a lot of writers don't talk about income streams, and sort of there's this fantasy that book sales are going to be what pays the bills.
Nope. I mean, I've done very well on my books, but I am in the 0.0001% of writers. I mean, it's, there's lots of opportunities for writing and writing books, but in my genre, business books, it's really hard to make a living.
It sounds like, so your writing is a way to grow your audience, as you say, and then you have income streams from speaking or consulting or events, et cetera. So that makes a lot of
Yes.
sense, and I think is a really important awareness building, especially for people who are just starting in writing, who think, write a book and there's going to be income from it. And I just have known so many authors who get disillusioned and sort of burned by that. But when the
Oh,
reality
I would
hits,
say, yeah, I would
once you
say
start,
almost every author is disillusioned by the monetization. But I mean, I think the way, what I would hope that people would look at writing, and if someone has a dream to write a book, I think you should do it. But it's a way to become known. It's a way to open doors. It's a way to if you write a book, you're elite because it's hard to write a book. And if you're the author of a book, nobody will ever know if how many books you sold, but forever you'll be introduced as the author of this book, and that makes you elite and makes you special, and it gives you a great sense of satisfaction. So but money is probably not at the top of the list of reasons to write a book.
yeah. Well, I just want to, I know that we're almost at time, but I just want to say, circle back to this idea of community and see, if there's any kind of final advice or words you want to say about how to build your community and how to link it to your brand. And also, if you can tell us how and where we can find your new book and also your other books and your writing, where's the best place to find you?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. Welcome to the new gig, and it's been just an honor, and I appreciate how well prepared you were with the excellent questions. Um, I'm never prescriptive in anything I write, in any speech I give. I never tell people what to do, because I honor your view, your experience, and your expertise. But what I try to do is offer a new roadmap to open your eyes to new possibilities. And I think when it comes to community is nothing new. We've had communities for different reasons since there was ever human beings getting together for the first time. But no one's really looked at it in the way that I look at it in this book, in terms of how do you build emotional connection to fans and customers through community. It's almost really never done. 70% of communities today, first of all, 70% of communities that start fail because people just want to sell stuff, and people don't usually want to gather for that reason. Of the communities that make it, 70% are focused on customer self-service, which is perfectly fine, but they're missing the bigger picture of what's possible in terms of creating this emotional connection. And if you have that emotional connection, your marketing is over. You don't need ads. You don't need SEO. You don't need branded content, because you have this group of people who love you, and they're going to buy, everything that you do. There's an amazing case study in the book. There's a woman. She created this community to help basically stay-at-home moms be entrepreneurs. It's called Boss Mom. In the first 9 months, she had a 6-figure income. She's doubled her business every year. It's close to being $1 million business. She has a community with 70,000 people in it, and it's an incredibly successful business. She has no sales department. She has no marketing department. She has no marketing budget. She doesn't need it. She never will, because she has this community of people who love her, support her, and will buy whatever she puts out there because of that emotional connection. It's the ultimate marketing. It's marketing without marketing.
And her name is Dana Malstraff, is that right?
Yeah, it's spelled Dana, but it's actually pronounced Dana. Yeah, Dana Malstaff
How
of
did she
Austin.
build that community? Was that mostly on social media, like Instagram, or what was the
Well,
vehicle through which she
she has
connected?
a Facebook group.
Uh-huh.
And like she built it like everyone builds communities. You just find 5 people who care. You find 5 people who share an idea and say, hey, let's create a little group here, see where it goes. And then if the group is amazing and fun and adds value, then those people are going to tell people, people outside the community and bring more people into it. And then it grows and grows and grows. And, Dana does no sales. She does no marketing, and her community is growing so fast. It's almost growing too fast. Her biggest problem is handling the growth. So it's really an interesting way to look at business. There are several examples like that in the book where the community is the business. There's an example in this book where one B2B community became bigger than the business. It's now the business overshadowing the original business. So, there's a lot of possibility there. In terms of following me and learning more about me and my books, it's easy to remember. You can find me at businessesgrow.com. Nobody can remember how to spell Schaefer or remember my name, but if you can remember Businesses Grow, you can find my social media connections, my blog, my podcast, my books, and also instructions on how to join my community. I have a community where we're dedicated to learning about the future of marketing. It's free, it's open, anybody can join it, everybody is welcome. And it's something that I'd love to have some of your fans take a look at that community as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mark. This has been such an interesting conversation. I wish I could, I feel like I could keep you here for another hour or two, both selfishly for my own learning, but also I know people are just going to eat up this content. Thank you so much. So just as a reminder for those who didn't catch it at the beginning, Mark Schaefer's new book is Belonging to the Brand, Why Community is the Last Great Marketing Strategy. And as he said, you can check him out on his website, businessesgrow.com. And just really want to thank you, Mark, for your all of your suggestions, advice, insight, and for being a real friend of Writing for Your Life for so long. We look forward to checking out the book and learning more, and hope to engage you at another event in the future. So thank you again.
Thank you, Kate.
All right, thanks, Mark.
All right, good job. Good luck with your business, and